welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight into the School of Management. My guest today is Dr. Helen Rothberg, and she is the Professor of Strategy and at Marist College School of Management. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
So I am a product of the CUNY system, City University of New York. I got my undergraduate degree at Queens College, my MBA at Baruch College, my MPhil at the City University Graduate Center, and my PhDs at the City University Graduate Center.
Great.
Yeah.
So let's go back in time before we get into what you're doing today. When did you start thinking about going to college? Was it freshman year of high school, senior year of high school? When did it all start for you?
Well, I was really fortunate to go to Stuyvesant High School in New York City, a math and science high school. You took a test to get in.
Wow.
So we started thinking about college probably from the minute we walked in the door. It was really a school geared up toward success and advancing education.
Okay. So you get to college, and what's it like?
Well, I went to a commuter school. I had wanted to go to some other colleges and apply to some really nice colleges and was accepted. But financially, it was hard for my family to figure that out. And being the first person to ever go to college in my family, there wasn't a lot of experience with how to get a student loan and how to pay them back. And it just wasn't part of our knowledge. So it was overwhelming. It was this huge place. My high school was not that large at the time. And it was very confusing because it was Darwinian. You had to figure everything out on your own. We didn't have advisors for helping us figure out what classes to take. Everything was published. Mm-hmm. And you looked up what you wanted to do and tried to fight your way into classes. And that's kind of how it worked. And it was also wonderful, though, because I met a lot of people from a lot of different parts of the city.
Sure. So you've gotten so many different degrees. So how does one go from getting all those degrees to becoming the Professor of Strategy here at Marist College?
Oh, that's a journey. When I began, I actually was pre-med. And I spent probably well into the end of my sophomore year, beginning of my junior year, taking all of my pre-med courses. And I began working in hospitals and realized that wasn't for me. So I said, I know, I'll be a psychologist. I could still be helpful. And I started working on hotlines and realized that wasn't for me. And minored in 3 different things. I was pretty lost. Political science, dance, writing. Mm-hmm. And then I took something called industrial psychology, which was psychology for business. And I got a specialization in that, and I graduated and didn't know what to do. So like all good college graduates, I left the country for a while and traveled and came back and applied to an MBA program that had industrial psychology because I knew what that was, but I had never taken a business course before. So my first step into an accounting course with 400 people was a bit jarring, but found my way to organizational behavior, and that's what the MBA is in, and really liked that. And was working while I was doing that, bartending, waitressing, internships at companies. Every time I thought I wanted to be something, I decided to do an internship in it, and quickly realized after 6 months or a year that I didn't like that either. It was a problem. So I kept bartending and going to school, and I was the first graduate really in strategy. Michael Porter's book had just come out. It was introduced to our doctoral program. I thought a doctorate was just one more big paper. Wrong. And I really fell in love with it. And I didn't understand how to separate the really good planning and analytical skills from the people skills. So I dual degreed in both strategy and behavioral science. Wow. And while I was doing that, and I was also consulting, and stopped bartending at some point and took a pay cut and started teaching in a college, and realized at that moment that I loved it. And when I graduated and I had some nice offers to become a consultant, I realized my heart was really in the classroom. So I became full-time professor and a part-time consultant, first at, I adjuncted at Polytechnic Institute in Farmingdale, Long Island.
Sure.
Then I was, my first full-time teaching job was at William Patterson College, now William Patterson University. Then I moved to Rutgers, the Newark campus. I was there for about 8 years, and decided one day, I moved out of the city at that point, and I was commuting to Rutgers. And you know, when you live on Delancey Street and you go to Newark, it's not a big deal. But when you live in a place called Mount Hope and you go to Newark, you realize it. And wanted to just change my lifestyle, and visited 7 schools within an hour and a half of my home. And when I walked onto this campus, which did not look much like it does now, that was in 1994 when I first looked at the campus.
Wow.
It was magical for me. First of all, you could park your car. It was immaculate. People hold the doors for you when you're walking toward a building. I never heard of such a thing. People say good morning. And I looked in the classrooms, and they were small. My classrooms at Rutgers had hit triple digits, and I felt I was more administering education than teaching the way I really wanted to teach. And I sent them a letter, the dean. Well, we didn't have a school of management then. It was just a Department of Management Studies. And I sent Jack Kelly, who was then, I guess we would call him a dean now, a letter about me. And he said there were no jobs, but we met and we talked, and we met and we talked. And I was here the next year.
Wow.
And that was 23 years ago, and I never left.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, very lucky.
Yeah. So let's get into what the students do in the School of Management. How do they get in, and what are they doing when they're there?
Great. What I really like about our School of Management versus the others I've worked in is being part of a liberal arts college. They also, half their credits will come from a liberal arts core. So they're really focusing on writing and speaking and thinking and ethics and taking history and political science and all those things that will make them very rounded. When they come to us in the School of Management, there's a very heavy layout of the courses they have to take. It's 60 credits. They can specialize in finance or marketing, international business, or human resources. This is all undergraduate. And they can choose, I mean, they have some freedom within there about electives and things that they'd like to take. Sometimes they could actually wind up having an emphasis in 2 things. We have a lot of people who will either double major. The other major in the School of Management is economics. So there'll be an economics and a finance major, or there'll be a finance major and an economics minor, or a marketing major and an economics minor, or something like that.
So they can mix and match when
they
they're
can
at the
mix
school.
and match. And we also, if they're international and they wind up being my advisee, I make sure they're bilingual. Because how could you do international business if you only speak English? We encourage them to study abroad, either in the shorter programs or the longer programs. We push them into internships early. Some say by junior year. I actually like to get my advisees into internships by their sophomore year, because just as my experience was, maybe they won't like what they're studying. Maybe there's something different out there for them, and I want them to have that experience of getting up, going to work, seeing what it's like, seeing what the work is, when they still have time to change their minds if they want to. We have a lot of hands-on experience as finance majors. They'll be working on Bloomberg terminals in the investment center. Many of us in strategy, those of us who teach that capstone, we have real executives coming to assess how well they're doing. I actually war game with them, and I have real companies sponsor those war games, and their executives come and spend time with them and talk with them and Q&A with them. So we and marketing does simulations. I mean, we really try to give them real world experience, even though they're in the classroom. We try to make it a very applied, not just a theoretical approach.
Now, do the students have to apply when they apply to the school, that they have to apply into the School of Management?
They can, but they don't have to, actually. Students can come in as a business major, and then it's easier for us to really chart their course. and to lay out their coursework. So if they want to study abroad for a full semester, we could make sure that happens without them having to take summer courses. If we think there are other minors in other schools that would go nicely with what they're doing, if you're international business, maybe a minor in Spanish is a good idea. If you're marketing, maybe a minor in merchandising is a good idea. We have the time to do that. But basically, they could make that choice at any point. It's just whether or not they'll still graduate in 4 years to get through their coursework.
Gotcha. And then once they're into the School of Management, they're taking all of those courseworks while they're in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what do you see mostly as a big major in the School of Management?
The two most popular, finance and marketing.
Okay.
We do a really good job of preparing our finance students. They're being taught by people who used to work on Wall Street, not just professors. So they're getting a mix of experience as well as technique. Yeah. We have them using the equipment and learning the programs and the language that they'll need, and we're pushing them as hard as we can into internships. And the same is true with marketing. We try very hard to make sure that they have experience before they go in, and the projects that they do are usually client-based, real-world-based. And we also work on the ancillary skills. We work very hard on their presentation skills, their writing skills, and really their thinking skills, because no matter what they go into, they're going to need those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the internships that you speak about, do you find that starting as sophomores into the interns, they work a lot better than starting as juniors as interns?
Well, some colleagues might disagree with me on this, so this is my perspective. Personally, I think it's much better because they're starting to get the experience of showing up every day, focusing on something specific, working with a team that's very diverse. We do a lot of teamwork in the School of Management because the way people work now, there's a lot of remote work, but you're mostly going to be working in teams. Few people really get to work on their own. So they start to get that experience and to learn a little bit about the politics and the flow and, you know, sometimes the stress and tension, and also to taste whether they like it.
Yeah.
You know, I really, maybe because that was my experience, I believe experience is the best teacher.
Sure.
So.
And how about studying abroad? So what happens when they study abroad?
Well, if they're going for a full semester, depending on where they go, there are certain courses that they can take in the school that are accepted into the School of Management. We're an AACSB accredited school. Our accrediting body is very strict about what types of courses could be taken outside the school. Okay. And we have schools that have similar designations and distinctions, so we can guide them that way. If they really want to go someplace where we don't have business courses available, then we'll save some of their general ed and core courses to take while they're away. Many of our study abroad students also, though, do internships. So they'll take a couple of courses and an internship and work in another country as well. So I know we do that in most places in Australia, London, Spain. You know, they're able to have that experience. Do you find
any students that go to do the Marist College in Italy?
Yeah, they do. They go to Florence, and I'm hoping I'll go to Florence one day too to teach for a semester. And you know, we do have courses in the School of Management that are available there, but also all the core courses transfer nicely.
Ah, great. So you also wrote a book.
Yep.
So the book is Perfect Mix. Everything I know about leadership, I learned as a bartender.
That's
right?
the book, yes.
So tell me a little bit about the book.
Well, it's really my experience from teaching. I'm also a consultant, so I've always consulted. So I work with business, I work with executives, I work with students, I work as an executive trainer. And one day I was out with Robin Torres, who runs our Emerging Leaders program, which is really, I recommend all students try to get involved with that. And I said to her, you know, Robin, everything I do, I feel like I learned all those skills when I was bartending. And the second year I said that to her, she said, okay, you're going to do a presentation on that to the Emerging Leaders program. So I wrote the book orally for about 8 years and then wrote the book and was lucky enough to have Simon & Schuster publish it. And it's stories about me behind the bar and how those experiences showed up in my work life and the lessons I took from that. And the model, or if you will, the cocktail for leading, is called advice. Action, determination, vision, integrity, communication, and empathy.
Wow.
And the stories revolve around that. And I've been speaking at schools and companies and organizations this year about that topic.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are they many stories of people coming up to you and saying, hey, Helen, this is what happened to me today?
Well, there's some of that. There's a barroom brawl. There's a corporate room brawl. There's having a really belligerent person in a blue moon. There's somebody who is brought to work in more for how she looked than her skills, and how do you help her move on to what she really should be doing without creating animosity.
Yeah.
There's stories about people from other countries who come to work with you and who they really are. It's pretty rich, and the whole purpose of the book, the message, so here's the spoiler alert, is to lead yourself. Because if you can learn how to lead yourself, then you can lead others. And that's what we're hoping to do in the School of Management, at Marist College in general. I just came right now from a presentation from outside the School of Management to our students about leading yourself and putting the best of yourself forward.
Sure, sure. And the kind of advice that that you would give through the book, what advice are you giving through the book?
Well, so each of those letters of the word advice does come with a lesson. So A is action, and there I'm saying do more and say less. Show what you can do. And don't be afraid to take risks. Determination is D. Get things done with ingenuity and civility. Never step on somebody else to make yourself higher.
Wow.
V is vision. Know where you're going and put the lights on so others can follow. Integrity. Tell the truth, always. Don't play into drama. And if you do something wrong, own it. It's okay. No one's perfect. Communication. It's just hard. Try to create understanding and understand that that understanding doesn't just come from words.
Yeah.
And then empathy, dare to care. Everybody has a story. Dare to care about them and dare to care about yourself. And then there are two more lessons about being who you really are and not being afraid of change.
Wow. And you're going around the country doing
Around
this?
the world, pretty much, but also
Wow.
around the country, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So back to the School of Management. Do you see a lot of students that graduate? Do you see them coming back and offering any kind of advice to the students that are still here?
All the time. I mean, our alumni, they're like a cult almost. Homecoming weekend is jammed, and anytime I reach out to any of them to give advice, to look at a student who I think is really talented, to be the company that I want my students to study and them to be the Q&A people, they are all over it. They love really engaging with the faculty and with those who are coming up. They have a very strong connection to the school, and I find that they're really helpful, especially when kids are a little lost and not quite sure. You know, kids come into college. How could you know what you want as an 18 or 19-year-old? I mean, sometimes you do, but oftentimes you don't. And it's good for them to meet people who have changed their minds, who have changed careers, and to see that it's okay, that they leave here prepared really to conquer whatever they want to do.
Yeah, similar to the show.
Yeah.
The show is about all the different careers and how they're getting in their career and how they go about it. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
So the School of Management then, the students, is there an amount of credits that they have to take in the School of Management?
Yeah, there are 60 credits that they have to take. There are 4 courses in each specialty, and then there are core courses that they have to take that are more broad. They have to take economics and accounting, management courses, business and society course, organizational behavior, human resources, finance. Everyone has to take finance also. And then the capstone course, which is strategy, which regardless of what their emphasis is or what they really focus in on, it helps them pull together everything they've learned in their business career so that they could be better decision makers.
And you're running just one of the courses in there?
Yeah, until very, very recently, I primarily only taught the strategy course because that's where my consultancy is and what I do. But of late, I've also started teaching one of the first courses, which is called Business and Society. So I could actually get a sophomore and help them start thinking about what it is to be a person in business, and then get them later and help them think about what is it to be a key ingredient in the strategy of a company.
And then once they're in these different courses and they come out and they graduate, are you helping some of the students as well in the real world?
I am. Some of them, I believe they become mine. I even know when their babies are born and get invitations to some of their weddings. But yeah, I have. I've placed a lot of my students into jobs. I've introduced them to people I know. Being a consultant, I'm always working with people who are always looking for talented young people.
Yeah.
I get calls from them when they get their first jobs and they hate it, and I tell them to quit and we help them find another job. I'm a reference for them. I even hire some of them myself, both when they are in school to help me on a project, and when they graduate, if I have special needs like social media. Everyone needs a millennial in their life, or people who are really good writers and have worked for me before. I'll ask them to help out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
Fantastic
Yeah.
stuff. So some of the students, do you see a lot of students more female, male, or is it pretty equal in male and female in the School of Management?
Well, in the undergraduate program, it's still, I would say it tips more to the men, but they're quickly catching up. It's not when I first came here where you might have had 5 women in a class. That doesn't happen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very close. And I would dare to say that in our MBA program, it's probably 50-50. The women might even have an edge.
Wow.
MPA program I can't speak to. I don't teach in that one, but it's evening out.
Wow.
We're coming on.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So the students that are in high school,
Mm-hmm.
what do they have to do to get to doing some type of management at the college level?
Well, we do have a summer business institute at Marist College where high school seniors can take, I think it's seniors, might also be juniors, can take courses and see what it's like, and some of them even for credit. So that's a piece of it. But the advice I would give students, Marist is really, and School of Management too, we're really focused on building leaders. Mm-hmm. And we like seeing students who do community service, who who do real community service, who help others, who have worked already, who play sports because it shows that you could play in a team.
Are they doing that here at Marist as well while they're going to school?
Sure. We have, well, yeah, we're Division I sports, but we also have a strong intramural program, and we have a lot of athletes or jocks here, and they're known as the smart ones because they tend to put their school first and their sports second, but you know, we like to keep them busy with sports, with clubs,
sure,
with real projects, because it not only helps develop their mind and their character, but keeps them out of trouble a little bit.
In your consulting work that you do with the outside companies, do you bring some of that into the classroom and explaining it to students?
Yeah, always. What's interesting in the School of Management is a lot of our faculty, teaching is their second careers. So they have that real world experience to make things come alive. Business is very hard to teach just from a textbook. Mm-hmm. And when you can bring in your stories, I mean, sometimes I can't use the actual name of the company, but I could say something like a ready-to-eat foods company, or a company in the exploration segment of the oil industry. You know, we could do it that way and show them how some of the things we're talking about really came to be.
Sure.
They really relate to that. We also like to use current publications. I know I use the Wall Street Journal quite a bit. Others use The Economist or the business section of the Times. But we want to keep students informed and show them how what we're teaching them isn't just book knowledge. It's live and it's real and it's happening, and this is how you identify, this theory with this action that a company's making.
And do you find that a lot of students that are in these classes, do they end up graduating and starting their own business?
Some of them do. My advice is to always work for somebody else first, make all your mistakes, and then open your own business. But we have a strong entrepreneurial bent in the school now, even more so in recent years, and also we're starting to focus a little bit on family businesses, family-based businesses. So we do have students who want to do that, and we try to give them those skills. And I go back to what we said earlier, if we can help them learn how to think and speak and write and be patient and analyze, they'll have the tools pretty much to do that.
Yeah, so and like you said, you get a lot of alumni that come back. Do some of them have their own businesses?
Some do, and they tell their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. And we have different management clubs that they'll visit also to share their stories, not just classrooms. So there are honor societies for each emphasis. There's one in management, there's one in economics, there's one in accounting. That's another one of our majors that we also now have a master's program, so they could do a 5-year program and earn the credits they need for their CPA.
Yeah.
And we bring speakers to those clubs, and we bring speakers to the classroom, and the kids love it, because it's one thing for a professor to tell you something, and it's one thing even for a professor who is consulting with a company at the same time that they're teaching you. But it's very different when somebody who's one of their own comes back and shares the stories. And they tend to ask some really good questions, and they tend to get mentored by those people too.
Now, are they usually business-related clubs that you create?
In the School of Management, yes. But in Marist College, there's a club for almost any interest. So if someone's an international business emphasis, we'll recommend they also look into global studies and do stuff with the International Club, not just, the School of Management Business Club or our Honor Society Club. So yeah, we mix it up a bit.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what else can a student find by coming into the School of Management at Marist College?
What they're going to find are small classes with professors who are in their office. Once they finish their first year programming, they then get a School of Management faculty member as an advisor. So they have close contact with someone who reflects their interests and who could guide them from their sophomore year on. They're going to meet a faculty who actually like each other.
Really?
So we consult with each other about the students, and if we see somebody struggling, we might say, hey, do you have so-and-so in your class, and did you notice there's a change, and do you think we should talk to them, and maybe we need to offer some extra help or just some guidance or just an ear. So it's very personal. See, this is what I always wanted going to college. And even though I got into some schools that had the smaller classrooms, I didn't know how much of a big difference that really could make. And now, having been a big school person, teaching the majority of my career now in a smaller school, it's really very different. You really can focus on helping to develop that young person if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of our show. Usually I ask my guests, what advice do you want to give to the students that they're interested in coming to Marist College? What advice would you like to give them?
Well, first I would tell them to come visit us, because I think once they come to our campus, they make their decision pretty quickly. As beautiful as it is here, that's also how welcoming it is. We are a small, close-knit faculty, even across schools. We like to work together. We like to do interesting projects. We lecture even in each other's fields. There's a lot to do here. So really think about what you as a person, the student, needs to learn. What kind of environment are you looking for? Do you want people to know your name? Do you want to be able to walk into someone's office for help, whether it's for your career or content? Do you want to work in close-knit teams and make close friends? Do you want to really learn from people who've been in business and can bring that real world experience in. And we also have some scholars who are on the cutting edge of thinking. So for a small place, it's pretty diversified in its capabilities. And I would also give them the advice of not only knowing where they really think they'll fit best, because in the end, students do best when they're with their people. But think about what you can do to be helping others on your path through high school. And if you like that kind of thing, because we like to bring in people who are leaders. And it doesn't mean that you have to be the captain of a football team, but it could mean that you are willing to lend a hand and help others and pitch in.
Well, thank you very much for coming on
Thank
the
you so
show.
much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.